Lesson 4, I will read and write numbers using base 10 numerals, number names, and expanded form. And I hope that you remember that today there are no first do's. You're just going to do all of the problems in order. All right, so let's take a look at problem set number 4. Now the directions say, on the place value chart below, label the units and represent the number 90,523. So you're going to represent this number using units. I want you to go ahead and label the place value chart and go ahead and represent this number. If you get stuck, you can always press play and then we'll come back and we'll check together. Okay, so first let's check our labels on our place value chart. So you should have had ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, then millions. Now I'm going to put my number in the place value chart. So I can see that I have a 9 in the 10,000s place, so I'm going to put my 9 here. I have 0 thousands, I have 500s, 2 tens, and 3 ones. So next it says to write the number in word form. So if you'll remember, these three numbers go together. They make up a family. So I'm going to read these just like I read ones, tens, and hundreds. So if I saw the number 90, I would read it 90. So the first word in reading this number would be 90. Now I'm going to say its place or its value. These are all thousands. So I have 90 thousands. And since that's the end of the thousands, I have to put a comma. And then I read this 523. So I have 523. And 23 is a hyphenated word. Okay? All right, so let's move down to expanded form. So now I have to look at the value of each of these digits. Well, if this 9 is in the 10,000s place, then it has to have a value of 9 10,000s or 90 thousands. This has no value. These are 5 hundreds, 2 tens, and 3 ones. So in expanded form, this would be 90,000 plus 500 plus 20 plus 3. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. All right, so again, we need to label the place value chart and represent 905,203. I want you to do as much of number 2 as you can. If you can go ahead and write it in word form and expanded form, go ahead, but make sure that you press play to come back and check your work. So I'm going to pause the video, and we're going to try to do as much of this as we can by ourselves. Okay, so let's begin by checking our place value chart. So we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. So since this 9 is in the 100,000s place, I put my 9 here. I had no 10,000s, 5,000s, 200s, 0 tens, and 3 ones. So now remember, this is the thousands family. So I read these three digits just like they were ones, tens, and hundreds. So I read this 905. So that's what I'm going to write. 905. Now I'm going to say their value. These are the thousands, so it's 905 thousands, comma, 203. So since this 9 is in 100,000s place, it has a value of 900,000. This has a value of 5,203. So now all I have to do is put all of these together for my expanded form. 900,000 plus 5,000 plus 200 plus 3. Okay? All right, so on the back here, we have a chart. I want you to go through here and try to fill out as much of this chart as you can using standard form and expanded form, filling it in as much as you can, and then we're going to come back and check together. If you get stuck, you can always press play and I'll help you. Okay, so let's take a look at these one at a time. So first of all, in word form, this is 2,480. So I wrote 2,400 and I put 8 instead of 80. So this should be 2,480. And then the value of the 2 is 2,000. The value of the 4 is 400. The value of the 8 is 80. And the 1s have no value. So let's take a look at the next one. So first of all, I looked at the expanded form and I saw that I had 20,000. And then I had no thousands, but I had 482. So I wrote 20,482, and in word form, 20,482. Okay, so let's take a look at the next column. Okay, so when I read this, I saw 64,000. So I wrote 64, and I knew where I saw the word thousand, I had to put a comma because it was the end of the thousands. And then I wrote 106, 106. And then I wrote the value of each digit. The 6 has a value of 6 10,000s or 60,000, then plus 4,000, plus 100, plus 6. And then lastly, I had 604,000. So again, I read these digits just like you read the ones, tens, and hundreds. 604, but these are thousands. So you say 604,016. So the value of the 6 was 600,000, the value of the 4 was 4,000, and the value of the 1 was 10, and the value of the 6 was 6. Okay, one more. Sorry, I said last, but there's one more. All right, so I'm going to read these first three digits together. 960. So I have 960, but the comma tells me it's the end of the thousands, so it's 960,000 and then just 60. So again, I wrote the value of each digit. This is 900,000 plus 60,000 plus 60. Okay? One more problem. So now we've got an application problem, and we're going to use that RDW process that we've been using. So we're going to read, we're going to draw, we're going to write a number sentence, and we're going to write a word sentence. So black rhinos are endangered with only 4,400 left in the world. Timothy read that number as 4,400. His father read that number as 4,400. Who read the number correctly? Use pictures, numbers, or words to explain your answer. So I'm thinking that a place value chart might be a good thing to draw to represent this problem here. So I'm going to go ahead, and since these numbers are only going up to the thousands, I'm just going to draw a small one. So I've got ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. So it says here that Timothy read this number 4,400. And then it said that his father read this number 4,400. Well, if I had 40 here, could I take these 40 hundredths and bundle them together and move them to the thousands and make this 4,400? Yes. So basically, they both read the number correctly because 4,400 and 4,400 are the same number. It's just another way to say 4,400. So let's see how we could explain that using words. So I'm going to begin by saying they both are correct. $4,400 is another way to say 4,400. All right, so today when you do your exit slip, I want you to make sure that you're paying very close attention to the value of all the digits when you're doing your expanded form, and to make sure that when you're reading those large numbers, you read them within the commas.